What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Sports Reality. My name is Jeremy John, here to bring to you all things sports. Have my man Yannick Scared in the building.
Yes, sir. Good to be back.
It's great to have you on. Back-to-back weeks here with the Sports Reality. What's up, Jay? How's everything, man? Good. Chilling, man. You were working this weekend? Yep. Such is life, especially living in this area. You got to work at some time in the weekend. Sometime, at least 1 week in a month, you will be working. Right. Hey, man, we got a lot to get into. Week 1 of NFL preseason.
Oh, fantastic. By fantastic, I mean terrible.
And that's not even the biggest news of the NFL. We get with the Ezekiel Elliott suspension, national anthem protest again.
Yep.
Also, Major League Baseball news. I think every fan in Washington almost died Saturday night. Almost had a stroke or a heart attack after what happened to Bryce Harper. We'll get into that. Also, some NBA news. Melo still on the trade block. We'll get into that. Let's start off with today in sports history. Today is August the 14th, 2017, and on August 14th, 1903, Jim Jeffries defeated Jim Corbett in the 10th round to retain his world heavyweight title in San Francisco. In 1936, the first basketball competition for a gold medal was held at the Olympic Games in Berlin, Germany. The U.S. defeated Canada 19-8 in a basketball game.
Pace and space in that game.
Nope, not at all. Not at all. 1937, the Detroit Tigers and the St. Louis Browns set an American League record for most runs combined in a doubleheader with 36. 1958, Vic Power of Cleveland. The Indians stole home twice during the same game, so they didn't learn after the first time.
No, they didn't. That's
Did
a great
not
name
learn.
too, Vic Power.
Yes. By the way, do you watch Power?
I do watch. I didn't watch last night's episode, but I am a Power fanatic.
Don't worry, I don't watch it at all. So you weren't gonna get any spoilers.
I thought we were gonna have a big discussion.
I for someone that does not watch it and the amount of buzz, I acknowledge that it's a good show, but haven't watched it. Also, haven't watched Game of Thrones yet.
Man, what's going on, man? I know you got the wedding coming up, but you gotta at least make some time for it.
I mean, I'm still watching The Sopranos right now. I am still watching it. Exactly. One show at a time. I've just got to season 6 of The Sopranos. Started that 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying? It took me like a year to watch Narcos. It's only been 1 season or 2 seasons. It took me a whole year. Anyway, so yeah, you weren't going to get a spoiler from me. 1959, the first meeting was held to organize the American Football League, or the AFL, which then later merged with the NFL. 1974, the NFL Players Association ended their 7-week strike. So they had a strike in 74. There was a strike, I think, in 82 and in 87.
Yep.
And then a lockout, of course, 2011, right? Am I correct? Wow. They've had a lot of work stoppages. Baseball, and the crazy thing is baseball gets a lot of heat for the strike in 94.
Yeah, but that's probably one of the best strikes. I mean, baseball set up right now is because of that.
Exactly. And, of course, it was the 1 year that there wasn't a World Series, and you see what they get. We will talk about work stoppage later in this show. Wow, there are a lot of things that happened on this date. 1987. Wonderful year of 1987. Mark McGwire set the record for home runs by a rookie when he connected with his 49th home run of the season. Some weekend quick hitters, PGA Championship. Who won, Yannick?
Was it Justin Thomas?
Yes, Justin Thomas won. As I looked at my phone.
Watch 1 second of it. I'm sure it was awesome for those who watched.
It was very high scoring. Or high scores.
Yeah.
And for those that are not familiar with golf, having high scores is not the object.
Yeah.
But
I think Thomas, he was over par in his first round and still came back and won. I think it's the first time in like 20 years. So it wasn't very good golf this past weekend in Charlotte.
Yes, not at all. And I heard the course was pretty soaked because of all the rain that happened on the East Coast. So yeah, that definitely affected the play. Also, Usain Bolt
What I call him last week, Michael Jordan with the Wizards. That was his time.
Yeah.
In London these past 2 weekends.
Yes.
Oh man.
Did not look too well. Did not finish the relay. He injured him. Was it his hamstring or knee?
Yeah.
Pulled up. His career is done. Let's not remember the last 2 weeks. He definitely did a lot of great things. And you know what? I know it sucks to not finish your last race, but he's still Usain Bolt. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what he does after. What do you think he's gonna do after? Is he just gonna retire and just chill, or is he gonna actually be working within the track and field media circuit?
I see him as a chiller. My lady went down to Trinidad for their carnival, and he was right up in the mix. You know, he got the World Championships coming up in the month. He's like, I'm just going to go over here and wind up on some girl down there in Trinidad. So when I told her that he pulled up lame in the World Championship, she was like, well, now he can train for crop over and Caravana and Carnival all over the world. That will be his new circuit. I was like, yeah, probably.
Oh, yeah. He's known to definitely have a good time. Definitely have a good time. All right, let's get into the NFL. Big news of the weekend. On Friday, this broke. Ezekiel Elliott, running back of the Dallas Cowboys, of course, my team, was suspended 6 games for his actions stemming from a domestic violence incident or incidents with his ex-girlfriend in Columbus, Ohio. These charges and there were no charges pressed, so let me say the right term. The allegations stem all the way back from last year. And, of course, the one story that broke out was sometime July of last year of an incident that happened in a parking lot in Columbus, Ohio. There were witnesses in the car, and even the witnesses in the car said, hey, I don't think that's what happened. I think you're making this up, referring to what the allegations from the young woman. So Columbus police said we don't have enough evidence to charge, so no charges will be pressed. The NFL has been investigating since that time. And honestly, I thought, okay, preseason went through, start of the regular season. Obviously, nothing's there.
Yeah.
You can't have this guy playing and then in the middle of the year just be like, whoop, something came up and we just found it. So, and he went through the entire year. He had a great rookie year, went to the divisional round of the playoffs with the Cowboys. You then fast forward to, was it Mardi Gras?
I think it was Fat Tuesday.
Fat Tuesday. Oh, no, St. Patrick's Day. That's what it was. It was a St. Patrick's Day parade. Yeah, St. Patrick's Day parade. He took off the top of a young lady, exposed her boobs. He was speeding, going, I think, 165 or 75. Yeah. Then got caught up where he was at a bar and someone got punched.
Nobody even knows what happened in that incident.
All we know is someone got punched unconscious. Police showed up, and Ezekiel Elliott was there.
Yeah, that's all.
It's not even clear if he's the one that swung. All we know is the man made a comment to a woman that was with Ezekiel and his crew, and that man just ended up unconscious. He himself doesn't know who hit him. Only, I think, 1 or 2 witnesses said Ezekiel hit him. Everyone else is like, well, there's no way. I think they even got video surveillance, and they said, we really can't even tell with the video surveillance what happened. So all that happens. You hear rumblings about this domestic violence incident, and the Cowboys are saying, we don't think, Jerry Jones is saying, we don't think anything's going to come out of it. Not enough evidence. You had other reporters saying, they're not really sure. But there were some reporters that were saying, yeah, something's coming down, and it's probably going to be a suspension. And then, of course, Thursday night you hear, okay, there'll be a decision tomorrow. That's what reporters were saying. A decision will be made tomorrow, meaning Friday. And I got up Friday morning, and I saw the decision. Ezekiel Elliott suspended for 6 games. And, of course, as a fan of America's team, I was in my feelings. Like, how dare they suspend him for 6 games? How dare? Like, how do you suspend him for 6 games and charges weren't pressed? How do you suspend him for 6 games and the stories aren't matching up? But as more and more came out Friday afternoon and into Friday evening, more reports, the actual investigators said what they saw in the investigation. You know, they also looked up text message data and information and realized photos matched. Photos from her phone matched. The young lady's phone matched her account of when these things happened. Photos of bruises and marks. And she documented when these numerous incidents happened. And after reading all of that, I'm like, well, bro, you got to serve your suspension, man. I don't care that you're a Dallas Cowboy.
Now
You got to serve your suspension. Go ahead.
My question, because somebody brought this up, and I don't know enough about this incident to really say who did what. I think there is a portion of the timeline where she may have gotten those injuries being with somebody else. So I didn't. So
There
I
is
guess-
that.
I guess
That's
I
out
don't
there
know
too.
If the investigator said, "Nah, this happened when she was with Zeke."
That is out there too. There was some inconsistencies with one of the incidents.
Mm-hmm.
There was, and it was confirmed. The investigators say, yeah, out of all the incidents, there was one where we were kind of like, we don't really believe you on that one, but we tend to believe you more than Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
So, of course,
which is pretty much the gist of this whole thing.
yeah. And so, of course, the investigators gave their considerations to the commissioner, Roger Goodell, who is the judge, jury, and executioner in all NFL off the field matters, or all NFL matters when it comes to players and their conduct on and off the field. So, of course, Roger Goodell suspended him for 6 games. That is the standard for now, the domestic violence violations.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably the first one to get the actual
really.
6 games.
And there's a lot of people that are saying that he's being made an example of to the other athletes, that there's going to be a zero tolerance for this, which I guess you can understand that. But here's my thing, and I think you touched on this too. With the courts, they didn't see enough to say that we have enough evidence to take to court that we can get a conviction for domestic violence. So that's why they didn't pursue the charge.
And that is hard, I must say.
it's
The way
very
laws
hard.
are written,
Yeah, it's hard.
and we're going to get into that later in the show probably. The way laws are written, they're very helpful to a certain group of people.
Yes.
And
So it's hard for it. I don't, because I want to be sensitive, because domestic violence is a very big topic in the NFL. It's a very big topic locally when you hear things going on, especially in neighborhoods where we live in as well. So we're very sensitive to it. But with the NFL, I think my issue is, and why it doesn't taste right to me, is that I don't like the NFL having the moral high ground, because we don't know what the NFL's morals are, to say that we have enough to take away somebody's livelihood for X amount of games. Especially when the courts have said there's not enough evidence for us to get a conviction. So I don't know where the NFL says. It's like the NFL saying, okay, you're guilty until we prove that you are going to be innocent, and that's why we're not going to charge you, whereas the courts are opposite. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with this. And you hear a lot of things that I guess Zeke's dad came out with stuff today to say, hey, we have evidence that this lady is trying to sabotage his son's career, this, that, and the third. So it's just tough. I think the NFL should just be careful when they try to say we're going to be the moral high ground for our players, especially because of the NFL has been kind of murky in that stuff as well in the past.
Yeah, so that's a great point. And that's kind of how I feel. I feel that, hey, if the evidence is out there saying that he did it,
If they have it on tape,
he needs to serve the
go.
6 games.
Yep.
And of course, the next time something like this happens, then it is
Yep.
it is. I think is it banishment? I think the
it's
second.
Second.
I think it is. And hopefully not just for his sake, for any woman's sake or any partner's sake, like that this doesn't happen again with Ezekiel Elliott. Now, yes, I do have a big issue with the NFL because you mentioned the NFL is not here to be the police.
Yeah.
They're not here to be law enforcement. And I don't care if it's a $1 billion entity. It still comes down to entertainment.
Yep.
Like, we have a president who admitted to sexual assault numerous times. And his comment wasn't like a joke. It was like, hey, man, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. You just got to grab him there and control him. You know, this is the president of the United States of America. And yes, there was outrage when that happened, when that video came out. But I'm telling you, there's more outrage when an athlete does something crazy. And I feel like we kind of have our, you know, we kind of have things backward. People in power will be outraged and then we forget. You know, when it comes to entertainers and specifically athletes, it's always just kind of like, wow, how dare you? You know, you're supposed to be a role model for my children. Like, what kind of example are you setting? And I just feel like it's very backwards. Ezekiel Elliott should serve his 6-game suspension. Now, he is filing an appeal. It will be filed tomorrow. And the one thing with the investigation that we did not add, Ezekiel and his team just didn't provide anything. They were just like, he didn't do it. So there's nothing to actually, you know, talk about. There's nothing. So that came up in the investigation that Ezekiel and his team just didn't really do anything. So now it looks like Ezekiel and his team may actually add their 2 cents or add their evidence as to what happened. And that's what you said. Stacey Elliott, Ezekiel's father, brought it up and said, hey, I think we have evidence showing that she's just trying to sabotage his career. So it's going to be interesting to see. There is a possibility that if Ezekiel is not pleased with the appeal from the NFL, that he will then bring it to the actual courts. And it will ask for an injunction. And then which will then suspend his suspension, meaning he'll be ready for week 1. That's going to be ugly.
Yep.
On the legal side and on the football side.
That's why it's just tough. And Goodell, he put himself in that position, being the sole guy that makes these rulings. And now we're going to have this situation with Zeke. Hopefully it doesn't get to that point, but it's going to be very interesting to see.
It's going to be bad because of definitely what the charges are. Domestic violence. And it's like, yo, you're really out here.
And hey, Zeke's setting himself up to really look bad.
Yeah.
To really say, hey, man, we got this. We got these pictures. We got this video. These things line up together. I mean, so Zeke's also putting himself on the line.
So it's going to be crazy interesting. And, yeah, there's a possibility he can be still playing week 1.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you my 2 cents as a Dallas Cowboys fan. I hope he isn't playing week 1 because I think he's still going to serve a 6-game suspension or some sort of suspension.
Let me ask you this. If it came out Friday, 3-game suspension because the particular incident, there wasn't enough evidence, but the league was trying to make an example because there's so many things. How would you, well, I guess you kind of want him to be.
I would be happy with 3 games.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still happy with, from what I saw, it looks like he did it. So the rule is 6-game suspension.
All right.
Now, you bring up an even better point. It seems like the NFL is suspending him for 6 games because they think this happen instead of it being proven.
Mm-hmm.
I would love it in a perfect world where if it's proven, yes, you get the 6 games. But if it's not, hey, we're still going to get you for conduct detrimental to the league.
Yes.
You know, maybe a 1 or 2 game suspension or even 3, you know, just to be like, look, you got to calm down. You got to straighten up.
Yeah,
oh, by the way.
He put himself in the position for
Yeah.
this to happen.
Yeah,
so.
by the way, this is incident number like
Yes, and
4 or 5.
That's where I'm like, yeah, he needs to sit down and chill out for a little bit.
Also, let's not forget, yes, marijuana is legal in Washington.
Mhm.
But remember when they played the preseason game in Seattle, he was seen at a dispensary. That was another incident where that came up. And as an NFL player, yes, you still cannot be using marijuana.
Oh, this is
so, not as of yet. It may happen in the future, but as of now, no. So it's just a numerous set of incidents. And I think, hey, it does need to be a wake-up call. I'd rather the wake-up call be now as a Cowboys fan than when we're in a serious playoff push.
Y'all have like 7, 8 players.
We have a lot of players suspended. A lot of players. Zeke is one. David Irving.
You got like a good start.
I want to say DeMarcus Lawrence, maybe.
I think I heard this name, yeah.
Rolando McClain technically is still with us technically. Randy Gregory has an entire year suspension. He's not even eligible to be reinstated until like week 15 of this season. So another lost year of Randy Gregory. And there's somebody else. The Cowboys were fined for having, I think it's too many players suspended. There's a rule in the NFL. If you have so many players suspended, then the team gets fined. What wasn't fair about that, though? We got fined because of one player that committed a violation while he was on another team.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one thing Jerry Jones is upset about. He's like, look, he played for the Seahawks when this violation took place. We signed him, and now you're suspending him. I mean, you're suspending him, but then you're penalizing us also.
But I think the league's trying to tell Jerry, yo, stop getting these guys that have issues. Like, I know you love to be the guy with the second chance, but sometimes is it even worth it? So, you know.
So it brings me to the next topic, and it actually was not in the rundown, and I just thought about it. We now have Jerry Jones, who, of course, was inducted to the Hall of Fame last week. But Roger Goodell has really irked Jerry Jones twice, or more than twice. Look, let me vent as a Cowboys fan right now.
Oh yes.
Even though we are America's team, I'm still going to vent. When it has come to scheduling the last two of the last 3 years, we've had stretches where we'll play 3 NFL games in 11 days. I understand, yes, we play on Thanksgiving, so of course you have a short week. But then the benefit of a short week is now you have a longer break until your next game. Nope, that hasn't happened. 2014 and 2016, we played. Let me go back to 2014. I'm venting now. We played on a Sunday night on the road against the Giants. We won. But now you then have to play a Thursday afternoon game. And then we played the following Thursday. So in 11 days, you played 3 NFL games. 2015, no one cares because Romo got hurt and we were terrible. 4-12. We deserved that number 5 pick to get Ezekiel, or number 4 pick to get Ezekiel Elliott. But 2016, we had a similar situation. This time we did play at home on Sunday at 1 p.m. Then, of course, the Thanksgiving game. And then the next Thursday, we had to play again. So another 3 games in 11 days. When typically, if you're going to play 3 games, it's going to be within a 14-day, maybe 15-day stretch. So that's just, one thing that Jerry Jones was not too happy about. Remember the salary cap violations?
Oh, yeah.
That the Cowboys and the Redskins got saddled with?
Ruined the Redskins, pretty much.
Yes, the Redskins, they got hit worse.
Yes.
The Cowboys were fined $15 million, or taking $15 million from the cap.
Like 28 or something.
And y'all were 30.
The 30, yeah.
Because in an uncapped year, the 2 geniuses in the building said, well, why don't we just pay all of our salary, the highest part of every player's salary in that year?
Yep.
It's an uncapped year. Just put all the salaries into that 1 year. The other 30 owners who didn't think about it,
They collude,
they were like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. They complained, and then Cowboys and the Redskins got screwed. So it brings me up to the Redskins. They got saddled with a $30 million fine. That really did hamstring the Redskins for like 3 years.
I mean, because
no decent free agent was coming because you didn't have space.
Because we traded the picks for RG3, so obviously we're going to have to fill in gaps with free agents. We don't have the money to spend, so instead of getting like quality receivers or offensive linemen, we have to get. And I love the guy when he said, well, actually, we got Josh Morgan before, but guys on Josh Morgan's level as wide receivers to fill in the gaps, and that's good for a little bit, but to sustain it. We can't do that. Our defense was awful. We couldn't bring in new guys on defense because we didn't have the money. We're bringing in Madu Williams to be our safety instead of a quality safety. So those are things that really hamstrung our team, got Shanahan out here. As much as the beef with RG3 and Shanahan was a big issue, the lack of talent because of the salary cap penalty was really exciting.
So now we have two prominent owners. Cowboys are the highest value team in the NFL. The Redskins are still in the top 5.
Yep.
And another top 5 team, the Patriots. Yep. You had the whole Deflategate. You've had Spygate, even though legitimately Spygate, they should have been punished, but they had that too under Goodell.
But you know why nothing will happen to Goodell? Because he makes the owners money.
We'll see.
At the end of the day, as long as he's bringing them those checks and they still clear.
We'll see. Let me say this. The NFL is where it is. Goodell has.
I mean, maybe despite Goodell, I'll definitely say despite Goodell, they are where the NFL is where it is.
The NFL has leaps and bounds from when Goodell started to where he is now. However, I don't think it's because of Goodell.
Yeah, I think
eventually it was going to make that progression to what it is, even if Tagliabue was still there or someone else was there. So now you have 3 prominent owners. Roger Goodell's contract is up in 2 years. Do you see a scenario where Jerry Jones and Kraft, they flex their muscles and say, hey, we really don't need Goodell?
I mean, let's see how this year goes, especially because we got this other stuff going on in the league. Let's see how it goes. If you see more dips in ratings, just a little stuff like that, I think you could probably see a push. I mean, let's see the Chargers move. We had the Chargers, but that's not. I mean, the first start not looking promising. So let's see how that thing goes, and we'll see where we are in 2 years.
I think in a couple years there may be a chance he is not renewed. His contract is not renewed. Yeah. I think it's quite possible. We had some national anthem protests. Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch didn't stand for the national anthem, but I remember seeing the photo. Of course, put it on my Instagram page, The Sports Reality, on Instagram, and I still post the picture, but I do remember this is not the first time Marshawn Lynch hasn't done it. He actually just, if he feels like he'll stand. If he doesn't, he wouldn't. But then Michael Bennett of the Seattle Seahawks took a knee during the national anthem, and he said why he did it, and it's only week 1 of preseason.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see how things go with that. We'll be having more players who are going to do this. It's going to be quite interesting. And it segues into our next topic. Colin Kaepernick still isn't on a team yet. And I saw some terrible backups. Terrible backups this week.
I watched Ryan Mallon on Thursday. It was Redskins-Ravens. I'm glad. I was going to go to the game. Got bare of it last minute. I'm glad saved my money and the time. Man, that guy is awful. I know people are saying like, oh, Colin Kaepernick's one trick. He has to be in this whatever pistol offense and all that stuff. And I'm like, nah, man. I didn't watch that many Niners games last year, but what I saw from him on Red Zone and all that stuff, that guy is way better than Ryan Mallon. And there's some people that are saying that Kaepernick is way better than Flacco. Well, not way better, but better than him.
There are some. I'm not going to go all the way there, but they are some. And when I say some, media credentialed members who have said that guys that you see on NFL Network and ESPN, which we would say are the prominent sports media outlets for football.
And
there's been a few that have said that.
And I think what is going on with this situation is really kind of peeling back the layers of the league, where it's not really a meritocracy. It's not really like, you can get beat out in camp if you're the best player. Now, if it's a political game, if the owner likes you, if the coach likes you, if the GM likes you, that's the people that get elevated. If you're not on their good side, and it's a reflection. I think people say NFL is a reflection of America. I think definitely it's now, where this guy is good enough player. He has different beliefs than the people in power, and he doesn't get a chance to get a job. And the only way that he will be able to get a chance to get a job is if there's pressure on the people in power to make decisions, to say, hey, man, we got to get this guy employment.
Well, let's welcome a man, Bernard Samuel, who was actually the very first guest on this show like 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
The very first guest that I had on this show. Let's welcome
I feel
him.
like I'm part of history.
Bernard, man, what's happening? Bernard, what's happening?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. My fault. That was on my end. How's everything, man?
Good, man. Can't complain. What's up, Jeremy?
So, question: did you hear anything that we were just saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, because I was just kind of like, hold on, maybe I didn't have it connected. We heard. Oh, man. Hey, man, it's great to hear from you. And we had a great debate on the social media Twitter. Spirited. And see, Bernard and I go way back from high school. Me and him have always debated. Of course, he's a Redskins fan. I'm a Cowboys fan. So we
Like Bernard already.
And crazy thing is,
for sure, yeah.
when we were in high school, Bernard, we were just as bad as each other. Like, both the Cowboys and the Redskins were just bad. Like, just bad teams. Yet, those 2 games a year, we're always look for it. By the way, in high school, I want to say the Redskins only beat the Cowboys once while I was in high school.
It does sound.
Yeah, you have Patrick Ramsey.
What was that, 2001, 2005? Yeah.
Those
were some struggle times.
Yeah,
for
some
sure.
struggle times, but we still had fun. Hey, man, so we had a debate on Twitter, and you mentioned, and I'm going to read the tweet verbatim.
Okay.
You mentioned Kaepernick is not a good quarterback, and the media attention he brings is not worth it for your number 3 quarterback. So it's simple. I'll be really rallying for this. I don't know if you remember what I said. I will say you're really reaching about the media attention and being 3rd on the depth chart. I want you to chime in on that. Why do you think Colin Kaepernick would be most teams' 3rd quarterback?
Yeah, all right. So that was a bit of a stretch. I'll give you that.
Hey, so I got one there.
Yeah, you got one there.
But go ahead.
Quarterback. In terms of talent, I went back and I looked at it. I would say he's around maybe your 30 to 35 quarterback in the league right now.
Uh-huh.
So that doesn't put him on 3rd QB talent. But when all is said and done, there's a lot more that goes into constructing an NFL football team.
That is true.
Than just talent. Because there's guys out there, there's free agents out there. There's a reason Cutler was not signed. He's not the 100th quarterback in the league, but he was brought into the Miami Dolphins to be the starting quarterback when he didn't get a backup job, or he may not have wanted a backup job, whatever it was. But there's talent out there. I still think RG3 has more potential than a lot of the number 3 quarterbacks that are on teams right now.
Oh, boy.
But I guess my point in general was that a lot of people in the conversation are seeing Colin Kaepernick's talent, Colin Kaepernick's potential from 3 years ago, and saying, why is this guy not having a job when Thad Lewis or Austin Davis or one of these guys are on a team? I just think there's a lot more that goes into the conversation with constructing a football team, and especially the quarterback position, when starting quarterbacks have delicate psyches that you need to tread softly when you bring in a guy like Colin Kaepernick, who just has a high profile.
Well, I would say this. I didn't even do the ranking like totally yet this week, but you said about ranked 35th quarterback for Kaepernick. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'd say 30 and 35.
I would say about there too, 30 to 35. There's 32 starting quarterbacks. He's within 30 to 35. So well, I think we both agree on that one. This is where I guess I disagree. I think Colin Kaepernick is good enough to really be on any team as a starter or backup. We saw when he had that trash team last season in 10 games go 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Yes, I think they only won, 1 or 2 games while he was there. But I think they still only won like 1 or 2 games with Blaine Gabbert also, who didn't produce good enough stats and got benched for him. I do want to go through some quarterbacks and before I even go through the quarterbacks, I want to make my point about this. I think at some point, NFL coaches just need to get the best talent instead of trying to say, hey, you got to be able to run this scheme. Because I think eventually talent is going to is going to win.
I don't even think coaches are the problem anymore. I really don't. I really think it's GM ownership that's kind of saying, hey, this guy Colin is more trouble than he's worth bringing in on the team. I think coaches, they want talent, they want the best guys, and they'll put them in where he sees fit. But I think it's above it at this point, especially when you see like the Ravens, Ozzie Newsome and Harbaugh were like, hey, we would want him on our team, and owner kind of was balking at it.
Also, by the way, even though Kaepernick, the team 49ers have had a bad 3 years. But I can't say it's because of Kaepernick. I could say because they've had 3 coaches in 3 years. When you think about it.
Right.
Chip Kelly last year, the year before Jim Tom Sula, and then the year before that was Harbaugh's last year, which they didn't go to the playoffs. But then I can go back to the previous year and NFC Championship game, year before that, Super Bowl appearance. Year before that, yes, he wasn't the starter, but NFC Championship appearance. So coaching is a big thing with the 49ers and why they did not succeed. Also why I think, and when I'm going to go be specific, the Ravens would have been a good fit. Greg Roman, who was the quarterback coach when he was thriving in San Francisco, is with the Ravens now.
Yeah, I think that was the big
and
connection.
that was kind of like, so you have the Harbaugh connection with the brothers, then you have the quarterback coach connection, and then the fact that their backup quarterbacks are just trash. Like Ryan Mallett has been on this is team number 3 now, and the same excuse: he got a big arm, but he's not smart. Hey, he got a big arm, he got talent, but if he gets frazzled, he's just gonna give up. We saw on Hard Knocks what he did when he found out he was gonna be the backup. He just decided he's not showing up to the facility. Like this, and that wasn't the first time. It happened in New England. I don't know what's happening now in Baltimore, but he had incidents where he just wouldn't show up. And even, what's his name, head coach for the Patriots,
Belichick.
Belichick, even he had to say, look, man, I got to give you up. So that's specific to the Ravens. But I do want to bring this. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so no, I mean, I definitely agree with you, and I think that's the most sensible fit for him for many reasons that you stated. The one thing is that I guess Ryan Mallett is the closest thing to Flacco in terms of style of play. So from a football standpoint, I can see why they would try and give Mallett a shot. I still think when all is said and done, after we get through the second or third preseason game, I think Colin Kaepernick will be a Baltimore Raven for the many reasons that you listed. But I guess I don't know if you heard Flacco talk on the issue of Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, I heard.
Signing with the Ravens. You could tell reading between the lines. He was like, yeah, he wants Colin to get a shot in the NFL, as I'm sure a lot of us do, but he doesn't want him to be on the Ravens.
Yeah, I definitely saw that comment. And of course, it goes to what Yannick was saying. Some people do believe Kaepernick is better than Flacco.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true. I did see
so,
that.
so the fact that people believe that, it could be the reason why Flacco's kind of like, I want him here because he might actually go on a hot stretch, and I may not be able to get back on this field.
Right.
I do want to go through 20 quarterbacks, and I'm just going to say their name. 20 quarterbacks that were signed during this offseason. Because a lot of people say, well, it's not as simple as you just get Colin Kaepernick and then you get rid of the quarterback or quarterbacks you have. These are 20 quarterbacks that were signed this offseason. So they were all free agents the same time Kaepernick became a free agent. Mike Glennon, which the Bears, I don't know where they're
Shouldn't
thinking.
even be starting for the Bears. It probably should be Mitch Trubisky.
Mitch Trubisky, yeah.
Yes. Mike Glennon. 3 years, $45 million deal. Horrible deal. Dude was the reason why the Buccaneers got to pick Jameis Winston. So, not good.
The local boy, man. That's our native.
He is from around here. I forgot. We don't care. Brian Hoyer, NFL journeyman, just everywhere. That one I'm going to somewhat give a pass because it was the 49ers. You know, Kaepernick decided to opt out, and he was going to get cut. Okay, whatever, Brian Hoyer. Nick Foles hasn't had a good year since what? 2000, what was that year? 2011? 2012 when he had that crazy stretch.
As an aside, a lot of people think Dak Prescott is going to be the new Nick Foles, so watch out for that.
Don't jinx my team.
There you go.
I like the sound of that.
Don't jinx my team. Josh McCown was signed by the Jets. Yes, he is a veteran. I understand, but you realize he's been a backup his entire life, and he's 38 years old.
The Jets would be perfect for Kaepernick because one, they're not going anywhere, but they got some good quality receivers. Except, owner Woody Johnson is like President Trump's ambassador to.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's not going to happen. But that
That's
team,
not
they
happening.
look like they're tanking. Like it's like, no, we're just throwing this season away. It's crazy.
Landry Jones re-signed with Steelers. Okay, but it's still Landry Jones.
He's awful. Yeah.
Awful. Matt Barkley.
Didn't he throw 4 interceptions in the game? Like his first 4 throws or something? I think it was with the Eagles. He came in the game.
Matt
and he
Barkley
threw,
was trash.
3 or 4 picks.
Mark Sanchez.
And I like Mark Sanchez. Don't say anything bad about it.
Mark Sanchez is some trash. Mark Sanchez is the reason. I was at the game last year, New Year's against the Eagles. As you can see that photo, that was him last year. I was at that game where Romo had his last game and then he came in.
Yeah.
The one pass, yeah.
Mark Sanchez is trash, man. Even during warm-up, he wasn't hitting dudes. Like, he is trash. There were receivers wide open. He can't find them. He's
Can I
trash.
stop you, Jeremy?
Huh? Go ahead.
Can I stop you?
Yeah.
Can you parse through your list and actually look for a guy that, let's say, has the profile of Kaepernick?
Oh.
Because when we're talking about signing a backup quarterback, because Kaepernick, as we can probably agree, he's not coming in right now unless he's with the Jets, to start or to compete to start.
Here's
So
one.
go ahead.
And I just passed his name. Josh Johnson for the Giants.
He doesn't have a profile. Nobody knows Josh Johnson.
That's the point. That their games are very similar,
Oh,
but
okay.
clearly Kaepernick is better than him, and this guy is on an NFL roster and will probably remain on that roster. That same team also signed Geno Smith to back up Eli Manning. I understand
Right.
Eli hasn't missed the game, but the way their offensive line is, he may actually miss a game this year. So
But
do you really want
microphone-
Geno Smith or Josh Johnson, who's bounced around the NFL so many times, to be your backup?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but the point is that microphones are not going towards Josh Johnson and Geno Smith for any reason. Eli Manning gets all the attention. And that's the way a football team wants it to be with their starting quarterback. You don't want your backup quarterback to be fielding tons of media. And it's not for whatever – I mean, the reason can be whatever the reason is. But that's just the reality of, I think, constructing a football team.
We'll see this. We've had an example of this happening. Michael
Okay.
Vick Michael Vick, convicted felon, gets signed by the Eagles, and he was the backup to Kevin Kolb.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a media circus, and I'm not exaggerating, for like a week.
Right.
After that, it disappeared. So when I hear people say the media attention, I'm like, it's going to only last for like a week, no matter how big the issue is, because eventually football is just going to take over. Eventually, the media is going to be like, you know what? How many times can we ask, hey, are you going to protest again?
Yeah.
Like, how many times can we ask that question? So then it's going to be, okay, well, now we're asking about football questions. Why would I then ask the backup? I'm going to now go to the starter. So when I hear people say the media circus, I'm like, that's just an excuse to say you don't want to sign him for the political views, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's why I say it's all an excuse, to be honest.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it is bringing only one instance up, the Michael Vick one. And Michael Vick at that point was, I would say, much more worth it. Just because I don't know how. Was that the year they had just drafted Kevin Kolb with the second round? Or
I don't know if it
the
was
year
just
after?
the year. It might have been the year after, because the Kevin Kolb, I think, was on the roster when McNabb was there also.
Right.
It's just funny because Vic literally was doing nothing in prison, like, for almost 2 years.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
And an NFL team took the risk on Michael Vick, and at least we know at Kaepernick he had a 4-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio this last year
Yeah.
with a horrible team.
Right.
So I'm kind of like, at some point you just gotta be like, yo, this is a baller, and we need quarterbacks. There's not. And if we're going to sit here and say there's 35, I mean, he's within the 30 to 35 range, at some point an NFL team probably needs him. And we were talking about the Ravens a lot, but you know what team really I think they need him? And I mentioned it last week with you, Yannick, the Indianapolis Colts, because Andrew Luck may not be playing the first 6 weeks. So I don't care about your system. Do you really want Scott Tolzien 6 games?
I don't even want him for 6 minutes of a game.
That's the thing. At some point, you just got to be like, look. And it is possible. We're not sure what's going to happen with Luck, but he's currently on the PUP list. And if he's on there by, I forgot which date, then he's just not eligible to play until week 6. So that's just real. I mean, and if it comes out that Luck is really not going to play, that's another team I think that really needs to look at him. And at some point, you, as an NFL team and as an NFL coach, you just got to coach your player up.
Yeah.
At some point, like, it just can't be like, yo, I want ready-made players coming in here. You know, you're already going to be missing your starting quarterback. So most GMs and owners are understanding of that. They're not going to fire you because disaster happened out of your hand. But yeah, it's just interesting that there's a lot of quarterbacks who should not be on NFL rosters as number 2 quarterbacks. But yeah. Real quick, can you stay much longer?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, so stay on the line. I do want to get real quick to, let's get real quick. The Sammy Watkins was traded to the Rams. Who did the Bills get in exchange for that? I think for that one
They
was
definitely
a
got a
draft,
draft pick.
But then the Bills
Gaines.
traded someone to the Eagles to get Jordan Matthews and Gaines.
Yes.
Yeah, so to
Ronald
get
Darby.
yes,
cornerback,
Darby,
yeah.
yes, who's
Yeah.
had some issues, legal issues, off the field issues. So it's gonna be interesting.
He's
Darby is pretty decent.
He's good, man. He's good.
He's a Jim Schwartz guy.
Yeah,
From his days in
it's
Buffalo,
gonna be
just
some
didn't work out for him.
competitions in the NFC East. It's definitely gonna be a competition. Week 1, we mentioned. I think people were just kind of excited to see some sort of football.
And then it came on, and you're like, oh, yeah, it's week 1 preseason.
Yeah, of course. Next week is gonna be probably a little better, and of course, week 3
think so?
I think it'll get better. The one thing with these NFL players is a lot of them dropping down like flies, and I feel like we went from back in the 60s and 70s and even into the 80s where players had to work during the off season, so they weren't really in optimum shape all year to now these guys are just working out all year.
And they're
then
weapons
just
on the field.
and they just break down.
Yep.
Like it's almost like these athletes are like Mercedes Benzes. You're not supposed to drive a Benz every day.
Yep.
A Benz is not for your everyday driving. And I feel like that's just happening way too often where guys, a lot of hamstring issues, a lot of like muscle issues. And it's kind of unfortunate. So I think NFL players just need to find a healthy balance before, just so they prolong their career, because these injuries are fluke. And that's why I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but I'm noticing this. Like the first 4 weeks of the NFL is not played at a great level.
It could be the practice time. I think Kirk Cousins was on the radio, and he was just talking like there's more stuff that they have to learn now, but less time to do it. So if you're thinking too much on the field and not just reacting instinctively, that's when you get all these crazy fumbles, interceptions, breakdowns in coverage, and stuff like that. That's what you see. One thing that people don't talk about, there's bad O-line play. Offensive lines are terrible now. There's probably like 2 or 3 good units now in the league, and everybody else is just like mixing and matching. I'm worried about our O-line in Washington. What I saw from week 1, our right side was kind of loose. Our center, I'm not really sure about him as well. And if you don't have a good O-line, you're not really doing too much on offense.
Yeah. How much time we got, Jay? 2 minutes. Hey, we've dominated this entire show with the NFL. So quickly, let's just get to Major League Baseball. Bryce Harper injured on the first base on Saturday. Luckily, it's just a hyperextended knee. I didn't realize that they painted the bases. I just thought the bases were just super clean. They actually painted them. So with the rain that came all of a sudden on Saturday, they had a rain delay. He slips on the bag. Fluke accident. He was the only person that it happened to. But maybe Major League Baseball needs to then address this and realize we need to put something that's slip-proof on the top of these bags. Also, Eaton earlier this year had a similar incident.
At home plate,
and he's out for the year. So other guys it's happened to. So Major League Baseball needs to do something about that. Giancarlo Stanton, 42 home runs, tied the Marlins single season record, and it is only August.
He's very strong.
And he hit his 250th home run of his career. My goodness, I'm trying to my firstborn, name him Giancarlo. I've been asking my fiance, hey, when this happens, can we? I was like, somewhat. It's not a typical name. It's a somewhat cultured name. Yeah. Clearly shows that he's a person of color with this name. I was like, Giancarlo, and she's just like, no. So I'm trying. I'm still trying to get that one there. Division races are heating up. The Dodgers are just balling out here.
That division is not heating up.
Yeah, but everything else, like the NL Central, that's interesting because the Cardinals came out of nowhere now. Jay's team. I'm saying it's Jay's team, right? Yep. He's from St. Louis. So, yeah, they're coming back on the blue. Cubs may not even make the playoffs, so it's going to be quite interesting. We're just going to leave this off for another day, but, of course, Melo trade talk still up. Doc Rivers demoted last week. He's just the head coach now. It's going to be interesting to see how things go. Hey, Bernard, I want to thank you for coming on. It's been a minute.
Oh, I know, man.
Since you have come
it was great.
on. Yannick.
I got all my notes. I still got more on Kaepernick. But
yeah. Definitely.
I'll hit you up on Twitter.
Yeah. Yannick, thank you for coming on.
No problem, sir.
Yes.
Chat with you when Wizard season starts.
Yeah, definitely. It should be pretty exciting. Oh, by the way, Wizards play on Christmas Day. Yep.
Yeah,
in Boston. By the way, the marquee game of the day, too. It's at 5:30.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the marquee game was the Sixers-Knicks game.
That's at midday, right?
That's like it better be at like 9 a.m.
Yeah, that's at like midday. Surprisingly, the Cavs and Warriors at 3:30, and then of course to 5:30 in Boston. Wizards. It's gonna be a great. That'll be a great day. Definitely, man. I want to thank all of y'all for coming on. I want to thank you, the viewers and listeners, for chiming in. Thank you, Jay, for everything that you do. Hey, until next time, everyone, Sports Reality. Peace.
DC's #1 recording studio.